Okay, so there's a little bit more to talk about in arrays before we go to data frames. So suppose we have an array, or we haven't talked about how to create an array yet, so let's do that first. So here, what are we doing? What are we creating here? So all this is a simple vector containing two strings, A1 and A2. And we assign that to this. So this is just a vector containing those two strings. This is also just a vector containing these three strings. And this is also just a vector containing these four strings. Okay, but now we're going to create an array. And we use the array function just like we use the matrix function. And we're going to do just like we did with the matrix. We're going to put in a vector here, the sequence of numbers from 1 to 24. And then this is different because before we had what was it? N rows and n columns, right? We specified those. Here we just take this vector, and this tells us that we're creating an array. So it's 3 dimensions, this array. It's going to be 3 dimensions because this vector has 3 entries. And this says 2 means that we're going to have 2 rows, we're going to have 3 columns, and we're going to have 4 layers going back. So in terms of the picture, it would be 4 layers going back instead of this picture which has just 3 going back. Oh, by the way, I said n rows, but I should have said n row when I was talking about the matrix function. Alright, now going back to the array, one thing to notice, here we have a vector, and then this is a second vector specifying how many dimensions there will be, because as I've been saying, there could be more than 3 dimensions, but here there's 3 dimensions, and the number of elements in that dimension. So this has 2 rows, 3 columns, and 4 layers. Okay? But also note or notice that you should not put, this has to be a vector. So I couldn't just put these numbers here without the C, for example. It has to be, like I couldn't have 1 full colon 24 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. That won't work. Okay? Because it won't, it's reading all of this as one element, one input rather, into the array function. Okay? Because here's a comma and here's a comma. So this is where it's looking for. So I can say actually the second argument, this is the second argument in the array function, because here's a comma, the first comma. So this is the second argument in the array function. So in the second argument it's looking for a vector specifying how many dimensions, in this case there's 3 because there's 3 numbers here, and how many elements are in each of those dimensions. Okay, so you have to do it this way. Okay, and then here we're specifying another argument called dim names, which is just going to be the names of the various the names for the elements in the various dimensions. So like we said dim1 was A1, A2, and so we're going to have the rows are going to be labeled A1 and A2. And dim2 specifies the columns, and those are the names of the columns like this, and this is the names of the layers. Okay? Now another thing is, so what does this mean? So we have 3 commas, we need to specify an element in this array which has 3 dimensions, we need 3 commas. Just like before we needed 2 commas to specify something in, there's 2 commas here, we need 2 commas, and just like in the matrix we needed 1 comma to specify an element in a matrix. In other words, we needed something on the right of the comma and something on the left. So here we have 2 commas, so we have 3 elements. So what does this mean though that they're blank? Basically it means the same thing that as when it was blank for an array. It means take all of them. we're not limiting it to anything. So, in other words, take all the rows, take all the columns, but only take layer 1. Take all the rows, all the columns, but only take layer 2. So, so here, of course, this is the first layer, and the first layer will have 2 rows and 3 columns, of course. Okay, so that's what that means. Is there anything else here? No. Yeah, so, and the array's name is Z, right? This array is called Z. So if we want to specify a particular element in Z, we use this kind of notation, but we wouldn't say everything and everything. We'd say specifically we want the element in the first row, second column, third layer, which would be 15. Now why would it be 15? Well, if you think about it, it's the numbers 1 through 24, and you go you fill in the first column, second column, third column. Then you fill in, go to the next layer, and do the same thing. First column, second column, third column. And so I guess how many? There's 6. So you'd go. Where did we want to go? We wanted to go to this element. So we want to go in the first row of the second column of the third layer. Okay, I'll let you figure that out, but it turns out that it should be 15. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is data frames. So I'll stop here.